That any better? Hey,
What happened here?
The movie begins with Trevor dragging a rolled-up carpet with a body inside it to a river. As he's about to throw it in, he notices someone approaching. Panicked, he tosses the body into the water just as the man shines a flashlight on him and asks what he's doing. Suddenly, the scene shifts, and we see Trevor washing his hands at home. He then notices a note on his wall that reads, "Who are you?" Trevor visits Stevie, a call girl who's also his friend. She playfully teases him about how thin he's become, and Trevor jokingly shows off his bones. Stevie offers to cook him some eggs since he still has 30 minutes left, but Trevor declines, saying he's too tired. Before leaving, he places money in a bowl and walks out. Trevor works as a machine operator in a factory, a tough job made harder by his overbearing boss. After work, his coworkers invite him to a party, but he declines, saying he has other plans. Instead, Trevor heads to the airport for coffee, where he enjoys flirting with Marie, a friendly cashier he likes. After their usual playful exchange, Trevor leaves the money on the table and walks out. At home, Trevor tries to sleep but can't. Feeling restless, he weighs himself, noticing he's lost a few more pounds, adding to his already alarming weight loss. Unable to relax, he grabs a brush and bleach to clean his bathroom floor. After finishing, he writes a note to buy more bleach and sticks it on the fridge. The next day at work, Trevor's boss calls him into his office, concerned about Trevor's worsening appearance. He suggests Trevor see a doctor, but Trevor insists he's fine. Later, during his smoke break, Trevor tries to rest in his car but is interrupted by a man named Ivan. Ivan claims he also works at the factory and mentions he's Reynolds' replacement. Trevor, puzzled, says he's never seen Ivan before. Trevor visits Stevie, and after they sleep together, he tells her how exhausted he feels. Stevie offers to let him stay and rest, but Trevor admits the real problem. He hasn't been able to sleep for an entire year. Concerned, Stevie tells Trevor she worries about him and his insomnia. Lightening the mood, she jokes that she can't afford to lose him since he's her best client. Trevor gives a faint smile, but doesn't respond. At work, Trevor's coworker Miller asks for help fixing a machine. Trevor agrees, but gets distracted when he notices Ivan watching him with a sinister smile and gesture. Lost in thought, Trevor accidentally switches on the machine, causing Miller's hand to get stuck. Trevor tries to stop the machine, but the button isn't working. Tragically, Miller loses his hand. Everyone rushes to help, but Trevor, in shock, looks around for Ivan, who has disappeared. That evening, Trevor vomits at home, checks his weight, and realizes he's lost even more pounds. He notices a final notice for his utility bills and jots down a reminder to pay them. On the fridge, he finds a strange note with a drawing and a blank letter puzzle. Confused, he heads downstairs to pay his rent and casually asks his landlord if anyone has been hanging around his apartment. The landlord, puzzled, assures him no one has been around. Trevor brushes it off and leaves, trying not to seem worried. The next day at work, a team of investigators arrives to look into the Miller incident. Trevor explains that he was distracted by Ivan, a worker at the factory. However, his boss insists that no one named Ivan works there. Confused, Trevor mentions that Ivan replaced Reynolds. To prove his point, Trevor checks the factory floor, but Ivan is nowhere to be found and Reynolds is back at his usual spot. The investigators ask Trevor if he's suffered any recent brain injuries, leaving him even more unsettled. Feeling overwhelmed, Trevor leaves the factory. While driving, his mind spirals, questioning what's real. His erratic thoughts make him drive recklessly, and he eventually stops his car in the middle of the road, lost in confusion. That night, Trevor heads to the airport coffee shop to see Marie again. As usual, he flirts with her, keeping the mood light. While chatting, he notices a Mother's Day poster and casually asks Marie about her plans. She shares that she's taking her son, Nicholas, to an amusement park. Trevor opens up, saying he plans to visit the cemetery to pay respects to his late mother, mentioning how much he misses her. Touched by his honesty, Marie suggests he join her and Nicholas at the amusement park after his visit to the cemetery. Trevor hesitates for a moment, but agrees. The next day at work, Trevor notices his coworkers avoiding him and acting cold because of the Miller incident. Before he leaves, they openly tell him he's not wanted there, calling him strange and implying something is seriously wrong with him. In the parking lot, Trevor spots Ivan driving his red car. Frustrated, he follows him, driving recklessly through traffic. At a red light, Trevor confronts Ivan, saying they need to talk. Ivan smirks and tells Trevor to follow him, running the red light. Trevor chases after him. They meet at a bar where Trevor questions Ivan about why no one sees him at work or even finds him on the payroll. Ivan casually says it's all a joke, that the others at work are messing with Trevor. Then Ivan points out that Trevor, not him, is responsible for Miller's accident, adding fuel to Trevor's confusion. As Ivan leaves, he forgets his wallet on the counter. Trevor grabs it, checks inside, and takes a photograph he finds. That night, Trevor, drunk and frustrated, calls Reynolds to tell him he found a picture of him with Ivan in Ivan's wallet. But Reynolds doesn't take him seriously and hangs up. Trevor notices the note on his fridge again. This time, someone has filled in the last 2 letters, E and R. Confused and uneasy, he crumples the note and throws it in the trash, trying to ignore it. Trevor rushes to Stevie's place, interrupting her while she's with a client. Desperate, he begs for her time, saying something strange is happening to him. Stevie agrees to talk. Trevor pours out everything, how his life feels like a setup, how he nearly killed a coworker, and how everyone at work hates him. He starts obsessing over the letters E and R from the fridge note, trying to guess words that fit. His confusion grows, but Stevie tries to calm him down, reassuring him that he's just overthinking things. On Mother's Day, Trevor goes to the amusement park with Marie and her son Nicholas. As they spend time together, Trevor takes a photo of Marie and Nicholas, hesitating for a moment before snapping the picture. He mentions how this used to be his favorite place as a child, but admits he hasn't been back since then. Marie receives a call from her ex, so Trevor takes Nicholas aside. Nicholas insists on going into the Route 666 horror attraction. Trevor suggests waiting for his mother, but Nicholas refuses. Reluctantly, Trevor agrees, and they enter the spooky ride. Inside, the frightening scenes overwhelm Nicholas, and he suddenly passes out. Trevor rushes to bring him outside, where Marie arrives and helps comfort her son. On their way home, Marie reassures Trevor that Nicholas passing out wasn't his fault and says it happens sometimes due to his condition. She invites Trevor to her house for a drink. While there, Trevor quietly observes her home, her clock, furniture, and even the decorative dolls. They share a glass of wine, and when Trevor goes to the kitchen to fetch more, he notices a Mother's Day sticker on the fridge and a drawing that looks eerily similar to the ones he had seen on his fridge at home. Uneasy, Trevor rushes back to his apartment and retrieves the note he had thrown in the garbage earlier. He fills in the blanks on the note, and the word mother appears. Trevor then pulls out an old photo album. As he flips through it, he comes across a childhood picture of himself with his mother at the amusement park, the exact same place he visited with Marie and Nicholas earlier. The next day at work, Miller arrives to collect his settlement for losing his arm. Trevor approaches him and apologizes, but Miller brushes it off, saying he's fine now because he got a nice settlement and is happy with it. Later, while Trevor is fixing a machine, it suddenly starts running, trapping his hand. He struggles to reach the stop button, but it's just out of reach. In desperation, he grabs a nearby tool to jam the machine and manages to stop it. A coworker rushes over and helps free Trevor's hand. Shaken and angry, Trevor starts accusing everyone, convinced someone deliberately started the machine to harm him. He confronts Reynolds, demanding to stop the games because he saw the photo of Reynolds with Ivan. In his frustration, Trevor lashes out and attacks his boss. This leads to his boss firing him on the spot, leaving Trevor without a job. Trevor returns home and starts searching for Ivan's picture, but the electricity has been cut off because he hasn't paid the bills. Using a flashlight, he desperately searches for the picture but can't find it. While searching, he notices blood dripping from the fridge. Startled, he hesitates, but chooses to ignore it for now. He then heads to Stevie's place, where he finds her bruised and beaten by a client. Feeling protective, Trevor comforts her, and they share an emotional hug. Exhausted and broken, they both end up sleeping together. At home, Trevor hears footsteps approaching his apartment. He quickly prepares himself for whoever it might be, but it turns out to be his landlord. The landlord informs Trevor about a leak in his apartment, but Trevor denies it and firmly tells the landlord to leave. Afterward, Trevor notices blood leaking from the fridge. Shocked and confused, he stares at the growing mess. His attention then shifts to the note on the fridge. Driven by desperation, he completes the drawing and fills in the blanks. The word that forms is Miller. Trevor is left frozen, trying to piece together what it all means. The next day, Trevor heads to Miller's house, determined to confront him. As soon as Miller opens the door, Trevor starts yelling, accusing Miller of being behind everything happening to him. Trevor believes Miller started the machine that nearly crushed his hand, and suspects Miller is leaving notes on his fridge as revenge for the accident. Miller, confused and annoyed, denies everything and forces Trevor off his property. While leaving, Trevor spots Ivan parked nearby in his red car. Convinced that Miller and Ivan are working together, Trevor watches as Ivan drives off. Without hesitation, Trevor jumps into his truck and starts following him. As he chases Ivan's car, Trevor memorizes the license plate number, but suddenly, his truck breaks down. Frustrated and helpless, Trevor is forced to stop, losing Ivan once again. Trevor goes to the Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, with Ivan's license plate number, demanding the car owner's address. The clerk refuses, explaining they can't release such information unless a crime, like a hit and run, has occurred. Desperate, Trevor steps outside and deliberately throws himself in front of a moving car. Later, at the police station, Trevor files a hit-and-run report. A cop hands him a form to fill out with all the details. After checking the records, an officer returns and informs Trevor that the license plate number he provided is registered under his own name, Trevor Reznik, and belongs to a 1969 red car. Stunned and confused, Trevor panics. Without saying a word, he bolts from the police station and hides in the city's underground sewage system. That night, Trevor returns home and sees police talking to his landlord about him. Worried, he decides to go to Stevie's place. Stevie cleans his wounds and gives him clothes left by one of her clients. While there, Trevor spots Ivan's picture at her house and becomes furious. He demands to know where Ivan is, but Stevie is confused and denies knowing him. Trevor starts suspecting that Ivan is Stevie's ex and is behind everything happening to him. He accuses Stevie of playing games with him and stealing the photo from his wallet. Stevie explains that Trevor had left his wallet at her place, and she thought he wanted her to keep it. Trevor gives her the photo, insisting it's of Ivan, but Stevie points out it's just a picture of Trevor standing with a fat man holding a fish. Trevor, now enraged, calls Stevie a liar and a whore. Stevie, hurt and angry, kicks him out of her house. Trevor, desperate for answers, goes to the airport cafe to see Marie, but instead of Marie, there's a different waitress. Confused, Trevor asks about Marie, but the waitress tells him no one named Marie works there. Shocked, Trevor insists he doesn't know her, but the waitress responds that he comes to the cafe every night, and that she thought he couldn't speak because he never talks. Frustrated, Trevor accuses everyone in the cafe of being part of Ivan's game, yelling that they're all playing tricks on him. Feeling trapped, he storms out. At the parking lot, Trevor spots Ivan in his red car. Furious, he starts following him. As he tails Ivan, he notices Ivan heading toward his apartment. To Trevor's horror, he also sees Nicholas, Marie's son, with Ivan. Trevor rushes home and finds Ivan in his bathroom, casually playing with a knife. Trevor demands to know what Ivan has done with Nicholas. Overcome with anger, Trevor attacks Ivan and kills him. Desperate to find Nicholas, Trevor searches the apartment and opens the bloody fridge, only to discover it's filled with fish, the same fish from the photo he found earlier. At that moment, everything clicks. The man in the photo with Reynolds wasn't Ivan. It was Trevor himself. Ivan doesn't exist. He's a figment of Trevor's imagination. Still in denial, Trevor rolls Ivan's body into a carpet and drags it to the river. But as he prepares to toss it, he realizes the carpet is empty. There's no body inside. Suddenly, a man approaches. Standing in the beam of light is Ivan, staring at him, leaving Trevor paralyzed with fear and confusion. Trevor returns home, flashlight in hand. As he washes up, he notices a note on his fridge that reads, "Who are you?" Suddenly, memories start flooding back. He recalls an incident from a year ago. Trevor was driving his red 1969 car, lighting a cigarette, when a young boy, Nicholas, ran onto the road. Trevor accidentally hit the boy, killing him instantly. In the chaos, Nicholas's mother, Marie, rushed to the scene, but Trevor panicked and drove away, leaving them behind. Since that moment, he hasn't been able to sleep, haunted by guilt. Back in his apartment, Trevor stares at the note on the fridge and finishes the drawing. The completed word forms killer. Ivan was never real. He was a creation of Trevor's mind, a manifestation of his guilt and denial. The moments he shared with Marie and Nicholas, the imaginary encounters with Ivan, all of it was a delusion stemming from his unresolved trauma. Reality crashes down on Trevor as he confronts the truth of who he is and what he has done. The next morning, Trevor packs his belongings. His landlord stops by, and Trevor tells her she can keep his deposit for the last month. She notices that the items Trevor is packing, furniture, clocks, and dolls, are the same ones he thought were in Marie's house. Trevor quietly leaves and heads to the police station. In his mind, Ivan is sitting beside him in the car, giving him one last cheer as if to say goodbye. Trevor enters the station and confesses to the police about the hit and run from a year ago, admitting he killed a mother and her child. The officers take his statement and lock him up. In his cell, Trevor finally lies down and closes his eyes. For the first time in a year, he falls into a peaceful sleep. The guilt that had haunted him, creating sleepless nights and hallucinations, is finally gone. The film ends with Trevor resting, free from the weight of his conscience. Comment below the next movie you'd like to see recapped, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome recaps. See you in the next one!